Hi, and thanks for watching this video, which is about my Tetris game that I've written in C for the Oric computers, 6502 based 8-bit machines from the early 80s. To do this, I have got a repo on GitHub called Oric-Tetris. You can find that and you can clone that repo. And if you open it in VS Code, you'll see some files, but also just please note that to use this you have to also download the OSDK toolset, which is free. Download and install that, and then I've then cloned this repo from my GitHub. So what we need first is a terminal. So let's open the terminal, and then importantly you need to immediately run a command shell. So OSDK runs on Windows, but it requires command shell, which is where the various paths are added so that we can find the OSDK binaries from wherever we're making our build. And I'll just close this welcome screen and show you tetris.c. So as you can see here, it's a cut down C. This one doesn't support floating points, if I'm correct, but anyway, this game doesn't require floating points. But otherwise, the actual syntax is pretty much as you would expect, of course. So it's C, not C++. And I've got various functions, and because it's VS Code, it's doing some nice syntax highlighting for me. So this is all very nice. Now let's try and build it. Once you've cloned your repo, my repo into your local, then an OSDK is installed, you should be able to type OSDK build from the command shell, and that quickly builds a whole bunch of the files. Let me show you which files I'm building here. There's something called OSDK config.bat, which is basically for this folder setting where the run address is going to be, the name of the output, binary output, and which files will be compiled or assembled. It will do .c or .s files. So Tetris, Tetris data, and there's something called a tracked pt3, win1 pt3, popcorn pt3, and dflat lib. Now, what are those things? Well, let me very quickly show you in the main file, tetris.c. So lib.h is the OSDK's library header. And then there's three other header files which are just part of this build. One of them is to play PT3, ProTracker 3 sound files, music files. And this is something that I got off the internet. It's by someone called Ivan Roshin, and originally by Scalextrix, and well, also SV Bulba. So I don't want to claim any intellectual rights on this. I don't know how it works, but I've managed to convert the source to use in my build, and somebody had already converted the original Z80 version to run on 6502, and then somebody called Scalextrix had converted that 6502 version to run specifically for the Oric. I made a couple of small mods for it to work in interrupts and in the way that I want. But otherwise, the main part is by these very clever folks. Then there are some song files which have been converted from binary. So this PT3 file here has been converted from binary into an S file, so it can be assembled. So that's what you see here. It's assembling these S files, as well as creating the C file, which is actually being converted into assembly code and then assembled. So that's basically what we have here. So let's just run it now. So the tap file, build/tetris.tap, I could put that into any Oric emulator and load it, or even save it as a tap file and load it through an SD card peripheral on a real Oric computer, or even play the tap file through a utility and stream that audio like it was a tape recorder into an actual real Oric. So all those things are possible. But OSDK also has a nice shortcut called OSDK execute, which will essentially load the tap file in the build folder and immediately open up an emulator to do that. So let's just run this so you can see the result. So it's loading directly the OSDK, and hopefully you can hear tune, which is that's this, you can see in the background here, that's called the tracked pt3.s, and that's the file that is now playing in the background. This is under interrupt control, and in the foreground the game is running, and obviously it wants me to do something. So I can turn the music off and on by using the left and the right arrow keys. I'm going to keep it on for the moment, and then I'll press space 2, which is fire, to start, and let's have a go. So it's quite responsive. These shapes that are falling here are using my custom graphics routines to enable me to have essentially software sprites on the Oric. I'll be doing some more games that make more use of software sprites going forward. It's going to look like I don't know how to play Tetris, but actually there is a reason for this. If you complete a line low down, that's low risk, and therefore you don't get many points for it. So I've got 8 points there for a single line. If I get a line right at the bottom, I actually only get 1 point for it, or 1 or maybe 2 points for it. So it counts a lot more if you get a line higher up. So let's just do that. And of course then the challenge for the player here, so let's see how many points this one can work. 19, that was worth 11 points. So the point here is that about balancing risk versus reward, and I'm tempting the players to try and maximize their points by possibly only completing lines higher up. So I'm obviously hoping for a long bar shape now, and I've got it. So if I get that, I'm going to go from 40 points to 150. So that's far more than I would have got if I got a run of 4 on the lower level of the game here on the lower lines. So let's just do a little bit of that and get through to, right, I've got enough score now to do the high score table. We'll show you how that bit works. And actually it's quite tempting to just keep playing it because I'm a little bit addicted to the Tetris. But let's just do this. No, I've got to, okay, let's stop, okay. So another tune is playing. This is the win1.pt3. As you can see in the background of VS Code, that's actually what's playing right now. And then I can type some initials or something, A, B, C, and then it's back to the game. So that's my Tetris game for the Oric. You don't have to know how it actually works in C. If you're interested in playing it, then you can just take the tap file that's already on the repo and load it into your favorite Oric emulator. Anyway, hope that was interesting. Thank you very much for watching.